Laughter rippled through him, mingling with longing and a faint shadow of insecurity. I can't promise it'll be easy, but I can promise the view will be worth it. She bit back a smile, feeling her heart lift. Is that a guarantee, or just an excellent sales pitch? Do you want references? His smirk was infectious, the moment lightening, yet the undercurrent of seriousness remained. Only if you come highly rated, Sefina teased, her pulse steadying at the familiar banter. Zaire's gaze softened, brightening the room with uncontained warmth. I think we both know I'm 5 stars. Sefina gave a breathy laugh, her heart opening like the canvas before her. All right then, let's see this masterpiece unfold. Zaire held her gaze, the world around them fading as their laughter wove a new bond, a connection rich with the potential of undiscovered colors. Together, Sefina, always together. Scene 95, Moments of Vulnerability. In the heart of a skyline alive with the glow of city lights, a plush rooftop terrace unveils itself, an oasis amid the concrete jungle. The air is thick with the sweet scent of blooming jasmine, its delicate petals swaying gently under the soft embrace of a warm evening breeze. Zaire Oladipo leans against the wrought iron railing, his broad shoulders silhouetted against the star-dotted sky. Below, the hum of the city weaves a backdrop life continuing, yet here, time suspends for just them. Sefina Agbo steps onto the terrace, her presence a fleeting shadow before the glow of the lanterns flickers over her. She wraps her arms around herself, the cool air whispering secrets against her skin. Do you ever let your guard down? She asks, her voice barely above a whisper, tinged with curiosity and vulnerability. Zaire turns his emerald gaze towards her, that warmth radiating through the depths of his eyes. Only when it's safe, he replies, allowing a smile to form. The sound of her laughter, soft and soprano, stirs the air between them, a melody that seems to dance on the night breeze. I guess that makes me pretty unsafe then. Sefina crosses the distance between them, the heels of her boots clicking against the tiles, an unspoken invitation in her approach. I mean, you're here with me, despite everything. Despite everything, he echoes, a hint of solemnity threading through his tone. I've never been afraid of danger, Sefina, but you're another story. There's an intensity to his words that she feels curling in the pit of her stomach, a blend of ache and longing that spirals between them. Is that why you keep me at arm's length? Because I live in chaos? She shifts closer, her heart thudding to the rhythm of her pulse. The beauty of the city below pales against the spark between them. Chaos can be beautiful, Zaire says, his voice low and warm. He scans her face as if looking for pieces of a puzzle he spent too long trying to solve. But I fear it will swallow you whole. Then let me in, Zaire. Show me your chaos. There's an edge of desperation in her voice. She can't help but reach out, her hand hovering just inches from his. He studies her for a moment, caught between the warmth of her invitation and the cold reality of their separate lives. You don't know what you're asking for, he finally says, a shadow crossing his features. Once you see the darkness in me, there's no going back. Then I'll bring light. She closes the distance, pressing her palm against his, their fingers intertwining. The contact sends electricity coursing through her, igniting something between them that has long been simmering, barely contained, a fire waiting for the smallest spark. He hesitates, his breath catching as he senses the shift. We can't just pretend. His voice trails off, heavy with unspoken words. Pretend? No, not anymore, she insists, her eyes searching his. I don't want the lie, Zaire. I want the truth. I want you. At that moment, the world narrows down to just the two of them. Her heart races as he glances at their tangled hands, a mixture of wariness and longing painted across his expression. With a sudden shift in the atmosphere, he steps closer, their bodies almost touching, the magnetic pull unmistakable. Is that what you really want? He asks, his voice low and intensely intimate. Because once we cross this line, that's the point. She practically breathes, leaning in, yearning for that closeness, as if they were the only two souls in the universe. He pauses then, with a growing ache evident in his gaze, closes the distance. Their mouths hover at the edge of uncertainty, breaths mingling in a dance of desire and hesitation. Then we're both in trouble, he murmurs, and with that, his lips find hers. It's tentative at first, a deep inhale drawing her in like a tide, but quickly transforms into something deeper, more consuming. Each kiss cultivates warmth and promises unspoken, the chaos around them washing away, leaving only the truth they so desperately sought. As they part, their foreheads resting against each other, the silence is charged, thick with the weight of their unmasked fears. "You've disrupted my whole life," Zaire whispers, his breath hot against her skin. "And I don't plan on stopping," Sefina replies softly, a determination sparking in her eyes. Scene 96, Art of Compromise. The city shimmered like a mirage under the oppressive heat of the afternoon sun, the air thick with the scent of pavement and the echoes of bustling life. An art gallery, usually a sanctuary for creativity, now resonated with tension, its cool interior contrasting sharply with the turmoil brewing within. Sefina paced across the polished concrete floor, the soft shush of her sneakers cutting through the silence like a fine brushstroke on canvas, each step punctuating her frustration. "Do you even hear what you're saying, Zaire?" she snapped, spinning to face him, her arms crossed defensively in front of her. Zaire stood at the entrance, arms elegantly folded, his stature both imposing and serene. The shadows beneath his sharp cheekbones flickered, a reminder of the storm that lay just beneath his composed exterior. "I'm trying to make you understand the risks, Sefina. This isn't about us anymore. It's about survival." His voice was steady, yet she could sense the underlying strain, like a taut string ready to snap. Survival or control? Sefina threw back, her pulse quickening, emboldened by the surrounding vibrant hues of the canvases that embraced their walls. "You think that throwing your weight around will shield me? I need you to see me, Zaire, not just your partner in some dark dealings." Her frustration was palpable, filling the room with the weight of unsaid fears and unvoiced desires. He stepped toward her, the space between them crackling with charged energy. "What do you want me to say, Sefina? That I'm okay with you traipsing around this dangerous world on your own?" "I can't." Her gaze blazed, cutting through the tension like a knife. "You think I'm scared? You don't have to protect me from everything. You certainly don't need to rescue me from myself," she countered, the edge in her voice softening slightly. I caught a glimpse of the vulnerability in his dark, intense eyes. He took a deep breath, grounding himself. The sunlight streaming through the gallery's skylights illuminated the sharp lines of his jaw, and Sefina's heart flickered, betraying her resolve. "You don't think you deserve this, do you? A life of freedom, of choices? You can't keep pushing me away every time things get tough." "I'm not pushing you away. I want to find my own path, Zaire." She edged closer, each word laced with a blend of defiance and desperation. "I can't be just an extension of your world. I want to be more than that." He stepped even closer, the space between them evaporating, the world outside fading in significance. "So do I, Sefina. But think about what you're facing. It's chaos out there. I can't be your savior if you don't let me in. Maybe I don't want you to be my savior. Maybe I just want you to be you. I love who you are, but you have to trust that I can stand on my own." Her voice cracked ever so slightly, revealing the vulnerable artist beneath her fiery exterior. Zaire's expression softened, his tension ebbing as he reached out, brushing a loose curl behind her ear. "It's just that our lives are intertwined in ways that are complicated." His deep voice stirred something within her, a warmth wrapping around her heart like a soft embrace. "Complicated," she echoed, her lips curving into a soft, reluctant smile. "It's your favorite word, isn't it? Like you think if you say it enough, everything will just neatly fit into place." He chuckled, a warm, rich sound that licked at the edges of her frustration, chasing away the chill of their earlier argument. "I'd take complexity over simplicity any day, but I'm not letting you walk this path alone." She took a deep breath, steadying herself under his unwavering gaze. "Then help me figure it out together, Zaire. Give me your strength, but let me wield it my way." Silence filled the room, thick as paint, each second stretching out like a lingering stroke of a brush. Sefina dared to step even closer, their faces mere inches apart. "We can be more if we let each other be." "Okay," he whispered, the heat swirling between them beginning to thaw the remnants of their tension. "Let's find our way, together." Sefina smiled, the warmth in her heart igniting a fire within her. "Now, how do you feel about that new sculpture I was working on?" Zaire's brow arched playfully. "The one that looks like a melted popsicle?" It's called Deconstructed Summer. Thank you very much, she replied, laughter bursting forth, the conversation spinning away from heaviness into something delightfully light. And it's way better than your last masterpiece. Hey, that masterpiece was a symbol of our emotional turmoil. More like a pile of sawdust, she shot back, smirking. His laughter echoed in the spacious gallery, a melody that wrapped around their unsteady hearts. As they bantered, it was evident that amidst the chaos of their lives, they were learning the intricate art of compromise, one joke at a time. Scene 97, Collective Fear. The rain was relentless, drumming against the glass of the small cafe where Sefina sat, sensing a storm brewing far deeper than the weather. Outside, the clouds loomed over the city, heavy and foreboding. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of espresso and warm pastries, masking the tension simmering at their table. Sefina fiddled with the delicate porcelain cup, her fingers tracing the rim as she looked at Zaire, who sat across from her, his brow furrowed. Have you ever wondered what it feels like to lose everything? Zaire asked, his eyes piercing and intense, the shadows accentuating his chiseled features. Sefina could feel the weight of his question settle between them, mingling with the steam that curled around her cup. Not everything, she replied, her voice steady yet tinged with a tremor of vulnerability. Just fragments. Zaire leaned closer, his gaze unwavering. Those fragments can cut, Sefina. They can bleed you dry. Outside, a crack of thunder rumbled, mirroring the turbulence of their discussion. Sefina inhaled sharply, her mind racing. What are you so afraid of, Zaire? You keep bringing up loss and pain, and you keep pretending it doesn't exist, he countered, a playful smirk tugging at his lips, though the gravity of his words hung heavy in the air. You paint your world in colors, and just beneath, it's monochrome. She shot him a playful glare. Says the man who spends more time in the shadows than in the light. The tension that danced between them sparked like electricity, but there was a warmth in his smile. You think I like it there? His voice lowered, becoming soft as velvet. It's dark, but it's familiar. No surprises. Sefina chuckled, the sound bright and cutting through the tension. Sure, and I bet you're the one who gets the last cookie from the jar, too. It's safer that way, right? She took a sip of her coffee, her eyes meeting his, holding a challenge that hung in the air. Not always. Sometimes it's the cookie that breaks your heart, he said, a bittersweet smile crossing his lips. Like when you let someone in, only to have them yank your trust out from under you. The cafe around them pulsed with life, other patrons chatting animatedly, laughter spilling through the door, the barista swirling coffee art, but their world felt suspended, encased in glass, distorting the view of reality outside. Are you really that afraid to open up to me? She leaned forward, heart racing, as if daring him to cross the chasm between them. How can I reach out, Zaire, when you keep throwing shadows over your heart? He studied her, those intense eyes harboring unspoken battles. Rain splattered against the window, droplets racing to their inevitable end. It's not just about my heart, it's about our realities colliding. You're an artist, Sefina. You create beauty. I'm the storm. The words hung between them, raw and poignant. Storms can lead to new beginnings, you know. Sefina smiled, the corners of her mouth lifting in determination. Maybe we need a little chaos to create something beautiful? He chuckled, deep and resonant, the tension easing. So now you're suggesting I embrace my chaos? What next? I start dancing in the rain? A private dance party. Just you and me, she teased, her laughter infectious as she glanced outside, watching droplets cascade down like teardrops. Don't forget your umbrella, Mr. Tall, dark, and handsome. Zaire leaned back, his demeanor shifting, a playful glint igniting in his eyes. If I join you in the rain, I risk getting soaked, and I look terrible with frizzy hair. He ran a hand through his own dark curls, exaggerating the gesture. Frizzy hair can be a look. Think of it as natural highlights, she quipped, the flicker of drama soothing the air between them. All the rage, darling. As laughter danced between them, the storm raged on outside, yet within their cocoon, the conversation shifted from fear to lightness. Zaire's expression softened, shifting from mirth to seriousness. Sefina, I won't let anything hurt you, not while I'm standing. Trust me. I want to believe that. Her voice fell to a whisper, vulnerability spilling out, mingling with their laughter. But you need to let your walls down too. He extended a hand across the table, their fingers just a breath apart, inviting her into that shared fragility. She took it, warmth igniting where their skin met. What if we're both just scared? Zaire mused, eyes searching hers, revealing the stirrings of connection that felt like thunder rumbling through them, chaotic yet compelling. Then maybe fear is just another canvas. Her breath caught in her throat, the intimacy of the moment wrapping around them like the storm outside, and we can paint it together. Scene 98, Strength Through Adversity. The city of Lagos pulsed with a frenetic energy, a symphony of honking vehicles, shouting vendors, and the distant hum of music spilling from every corner. In the shadows of crumbling buildings draped with vibrant murals, Zaire Oladipo paced, his heels striking the pavement like a countdown clock. The light of the setting sun painted everything in hues of gold and crimson, an ironic backdrop to the storm brewing in his chest. He turned sharply, crossing his arms, the muscles in his jaw tightening. He could barely focus as he awaited her arrival. Sefina Agbo emerged from the bustling crowd, her silhouette carved against the fading light. Today she wore a flowing sundress that danced around her legs, the fabric swirling like the emotional turmoil that wrapped around her heart. Her dark hair, wild and untamed, mirrored the tempest inside her, a taste of freedom marred by the chains of their shared history. "Zaire!" she called, her voice strained but cutting through the noise like a siren. She rushed towards him, only to stop short, hands on her hips. "What's this about you getting involved with Manji's crew? You could have warned me." Zaire's expression hardened as he stepped closer, invading her space, his eyes glinting with frustration. "And put you in danger, Sefina? That's not something I can afford." She scoffed, the tension in her shoulders taut as a violin string. "You think this is just some game? I won't let you make decisions for me." But even through her defiance, Zaire noticed a tremor in her voice, an underlying fear she tried to mask. His tone lowered, dripping with a mix of challenge and tenderness. "It's not a game. You don't understand what's at stake, and I refuse to watch you get hurt because of my choices. Like how I didn't understand the stakes when you were moonlighting with the very people I'm trying to escape?" Sefina shot back, her eyes flashing. "That kind of betrayal doesn't just go away, Zaire." A moment of silence settled between them, thick and charged. The crowd swirled around, but in this pocket of confrontation, they stood apart from the chaos, two worlds colliding. Zaire's shoulders dropped a fraction, the hostility washing away as he took a breath. "I didn't want this life for you, Sefina. It's dangerous, and I would do anything to protect you." Each word was like a chord struck on the heartstrings, or a plea buried under layers of pride and fear. "But this is my life," she exclaimed. "You don't get to choose that for me." The swell of emotion in her voice betrayed her desire to be free from both his expectations and her own insecurities. "Then help me," Zaire said suddenly, his earnestness almost catching her off guard. "Don't push me away. Let's face this together. We are stronger united." "A team?" she asked, a hint of laughter threading through her disbelief. "Your idea of teamwork is moonlighting as a crime boss?" Zaire nearly smiled at her defiance but quickly masked it. "It's about survival, Sefina. It's not a crime when it's the only way to protect what's ours." "What's ours?" she echoed, incredulous. "You mean your empire of shadows? I have my dreams, things I'm working towards." He stepped closer, his face mere inches from hers, the air charged with tension. "I know your dreams, Sefina, but we need to confront this, not run away from each other. Your dreams deserve the chance to breathe, just like my protection for you does." For a brief moment, Sefina's bravado faltered. The warmth radiating from him drew her in, and she hesitated. Then, in a fragile whisper tinged with vulnerability, she admitted, "I don't know if I can trust this. You, us." Zaire searched her eyes, his heart racing as he reached out, tentative but confident. "In vulnerability lies strength, Sefina. Please let me in." The moment hung heavily, laden with what wasn't said. It felt like a lit fuse ready to ignite. "I want to," she confessed finally, a swell of vulnerability cracking open her defenses. "But the fear can be a catalyst for power," he interjected, leaning closer still, his words tumbling over one another like a gentle caress. "Together, we'll ignite that power." Their eyes locked, a moment of sizzling tension bridging the gap between argument and understanding, jealousy and promise. The city echoed around them, busy and unyielding, yet in their shared silence, a new commitment was woven. As the dusk surrendered to night, Sefina whispered softly, "Then let's walk this dark road together." Zaire smiled, the warmth of hope shining in the depths of his gaze. "With you beside me, it will be less dark." Scene 99, Unrevealed Desires. The sun dipped low in the evening sky, casting a warm, golden glow over the rooftop terrace. Potted ficus trees huddled against the wrought iron railing, their leaves rustling gently in a soft breeze that carried the earthy scent of freshly watered soil. Zaire leaned against the cool stone ledge, a glass of deep red wine cradled in his hand, the drink nearly forgotten as he looked out over the cityscape. The distant hum of traffic mixed with the fleeting laughter of friends below, creating a comforting backdrop to the charged silence between him and Sefina. Sefina stepped out from the shadows, the soft rustle of her dress like whispered secrets. Her dark curls danced around her shoulders, catching the last light of day. The vibrant colors of her ensemble emerald, with hints of charcoal, served as a bold declaration. "Lost in thought, or just avoiding me?" she teased, though the vulnerability in her eyes belied the playful tone. Zaire turned slowly, the corners of his mouth lifting with a hint of amusement. "Maybe both. You're good at dodging, but it takes two to tango when it comes to avoidance." Her smile flickered and then deepened, a recognition sparking in her gaze. They both knew the dance was changing, the unspoken words hovering like opalescent mist between them. "Well, I didn't come up here for a waltz. I came for." She paused, tilting her head, to find out what kind of a man drowns his sorrows in wine. He chuckled, the sound low and inviting. "A man who's too stubborn to admit when he needs help." Sefina stepped closer, intrigued. "You? Stubborn? I can't imagine." Their eyes locked, a playful challenge igniting the air between them. The wine glimmered in the fading light, a reflection of the warmth blooming in her chest. "Try to imagine," he said, moving toward her, the distance closing with every step. His presence was like the city skyline, steadfast and full of promise. "Sometimes it's easier to have a drink than to admit struggles." A moment of hesitation shadowed her features. "But you do strive to help others, don't you? You're always there, even when you're not visible." Choosing his words carefully, Zaire stepped closer. "We all wear masks, Sefina. Yours is beautiful, but I wonder what lies beneath." Her breath hitched, the atmosphere thickening with the weight of unvoiced confessions. "You think I'm hiding? Honestly, it's a daily battle to even show up." She pressed a hand against her heart, and for an excruciating second, Zaire was sure he could hear it racing. "Then let's strip away the masks," he suggested, his voice deepening. "Just for tonight." As if the universe granted their unspoken wish, the breeze picked up, swaying the branches around them, carrying a whisper of freedom. The connection between them sparked, electricity crackling in the air. Zaire's heart raced, mirroring her own, and suddenly the professional facade crumbled. "I don't know what I want anymore, Zaire," she confessed, a hint of fear tracing her words. "I'm terrified of what this might become." His fingers brushed against her arm, a gentle reassurance. "Fear can be a compass if you let it guide you." He held her gaze, his warmth enveloping her like a cocoon. "But it can't be the only thing steering your ship." The vulnerability of their unguarded moment sparked an emboldened desire in her. "And what if I want more than just sailing a steady course? Maybe I want to run wild into the storm." That boldness cracked open a reservoir of tenderness within him. "Then we'll navigate it together," he murmured. "Just promise me one thing. No more running away." Sefina stepped closer, their bodies nearly touching now, the warmth radiating off him intoxicating. "What if I make you a promise? A part of me wants what you're offering, and another part is afraid it's just a mirage." His thumb caressed her chin lightly, tilting her face up to meet his. "Then let me show you, Sefina. Let's make this more than just a dream." The air hummed with unfulfilled need, his gaze simmering with unmasked desire. Her heart fluttered, pulsating against her ribcage. "What happens if we get lost? Then let me be the one to find you." Zaire leaned in, the world around them fading, caught in the gravity of that moment. There, on that rooftop terrace, the city stretching out beneath them, they discovered freedoms unimagined, yet still cloaked in the silken folds of uncertainty, yearning, and the tantalizing whisper of what could be. Scene 100. Taking the leap. The sun dipped low over downtown, casting a warm golden glow that danced between the tall glass buildings, the air thick with the scent of rain-soaked asphalt and freshly brewed coffee from the nearby cafe. Zaire Oladipo leaned against the sleek edge of a wooden railing on the terrace of his penthouse, overlooking the cityscape. A soft breeze tangled his hair, bringing with it the faint laughter of people below, yet he was fixated on the woman slumped in the lounge chair beside him. Sefina Agbo fiddled with a paintbrush, absent-mindedly swirling it through a palette of vibrant colors. Her canvas leaned against the wall, half-finished but pulsating with potential. Zaire turned to her, curious as her brow furrowed in concentration. "What do you think, Sef?" he asked, breaking the silence that enveloped them. "What do I think of what?" she replied, her voice teasing, a playful glint in her eyes as she finally met his gaze. "Of us," he said, his tone shifting from playful to serious, heavy with meaning. "Where do you see this going?" Sefina blinked, the weight of the question hanging in the air like the storm clouds threatening to brew above. "Well, that sounds ominous," she replied, a smirk barely concealing her nerves. "Are you asking me to paint our future?" Zaire stepped closer, the tension between them crackling like the storm's impending thunder. "Maybe, or just trying to understand if we can share the same canvas." "Do you even know what I want to paint?" she challenged, her eyes sparkling with mischief yet shadowed by doubt. "Or are you just assuming I want a garden of roses and butterflies?" "Maybe I'd prefer the thorns," Zaire replied, his voice low and laden with a warmth that sent shivers down Sefina's spine. "What are you afraid of?" Her gaze dropped, suddenly fixating on a tiny smudge of paint on her hands. "I don't know, Zaire. You're intense. Your world is intense. I mean, look at this place." She gestured, the expanse around them adorned with sleek modernity, a stark contrast to her own cluttered life. "What's wrong with intensity?" Zaire folded his arms, leaning forward, the warmth of his presence radiating toward her. "It can also be exhilarating." He cast a significant glance at the distant horizon, where dark clouds collected, their brewing storm mirroring the tumult within her. Sefina chuckled, lifting her chin defiantly. "Trust and intensity rarely get along, you know. It's like oil and water." "They mix surprisingly well if you shake them," he countered, stepping nearer until the space between them buzzed with energy. "What's it going to take for you to leap?" She paused, heart racing, considering the gravity of his words. "You first." "Fair." Zaire smiled, genuine and softening the air around them as he reached out, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear. The gentle touch sent a ripple of heat through Sefina, igniting something long dormant within her. "You're a risk, Zaire. A deliciously perilous risk I'm attracted to like a moth to a flame," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "But what if—" "You discover I'm a forest fire," he interrupted, his eyes darkening with both playfulness and seriousness. "Exactly," she breathed, her pulse quickening as the space between them dissolved into an intoxicating fusion of warmth and desire. "Then how about we face the flames together?" he suggested, tilting his head slightly, his expression inviting but steady, as if he were daring her to challenge everything she feared. Sefina's breath hitched, her heart pounding as she found courage swelling within her. I want to leap. But together, you promise?" "Together," Zaire echoed, stepping closer, his presence enveloping her like a cocoon. The tensions of the past melted away, as if washed clean by the coming storm, leaving just the two of them in this moment. With a sudden yearning, Zaire reached out, lifting her chin gently before their lips brushed together. It was tentative at first, like a whispered secret, then deepened into a fervent confession of everything unvoiced between them. Time suspended, the world faded away, leaving only the taste of possibility and the spark of connection. The kiss held an intensity that both terrified and exhilarated her, igniting a sense of freedom breaking through the clouds of doubt. And just as the storm finally loomed overhead, Sefina felt the clouds parting in her heart, a leap taken, a beginning forged. As they pulled apart, breathless and alive, Zaire's eyes darkened with resolve. "So what now? Deal with the fire or run?" Sefina smiled, the kind that spoke of newfound strength. "Let's make some smoke." Scene 101, Navigating Repercussions. The sun hung low in the sky, painting the walls of Sefina's studio in shades of golden amber and lingering shadows. Each brushstroke across the canvas felt like reclaiming parts of herself that had been lost. Yet with every stroke, the weight of her secrets pulled at her heart. She paused, wiping her brow, the echo of their last argument still ringing in her ears. Zaire's presence loomed in her mind, an intoxicating blend of chaos and protection. Suddenly, the creaking of the old wooden door sliced through her introspection. She turned just as he stepped inside, silhouetted by the fading daylight. There was an urgency in his stride that set her on edge. "Sefina," Zaire said, his voice low and intense. "We need to talk." Sefina braced herself, crossing her arms defensively. "Talk? About how you didn't tell me that you were behind my therapy sessions?" She could feel her pulse quicken, not just from the revelation, but from the emotions surging between them. It wasn't what it seemed. Zaire's shoulders squared, his brow furrowing. A silent moment passed as the air thickened with unspoken truths. "Really?" she scoffed, her voice tinged with sarcasm. "You thought I needed saving? Just like that?" She motioned wildly toward the surrounding chaos of paint and canvases. "Or was it just a game for you?" "Not a game. I wanted to help." His tone rose, passion eclipsing calm. "Every decision I made was for you." "Help," she interrupted, eyes blazing. "Help me by hiding the truth? You think that's how trust works?" Zaire stepped closer, his presence a burning force against her uncertainty. "It's not like that. I thought you would be safer if you didn't know. If I didn't let my past—" "Your past?" she snapped, catching her breath. "What about my past? The secrets buried under layers of pain? Do you think I'm just here to play the damsel while you fight your demons?" Silence enveloped them, palpable and electrifying. Sefina could almost hear her heartbeat drumming in her ears. Zaire's gaze dropped to the floor, the fire within him flickering. After a moment, he spoke, quieter now. "I never wanted to hurt you. I thought I was protecting you from the enemy within." "And what about the enemy at my door?" Her eyes glinted with tears, frustration spilling over. "Maybe I can help you with that," he replied, his voice softening. "You don't need to face this alone." "What do you know about facing anything alone?" Sefina challenged, pain curling around her words. "You've been keeping your distance, hiding your true self from me." Zaire closed the space between them, his expression shifting from defensive to vulnerable. "You don't see it, do you? Your strength, it drives me to protect you, but it also terrifies me. I fear losing you every day." A heartbeat passed, and she saw the storm swirling beneath his stoic facade. "You think I'm strong?" she whispered, her bravado cracking. "Strong enough to know your worth, strong enough to stand against your demons," he said, steady and unyielding. "But if you let my past shadow your brightness, we're both losing." Sefina inhaled sharply, her heart racing in the intimate space between silence and confession. The argument shifted, the charge in the air morphing into something more profound. She stepped closer, feeling the heat radiating from him. "What if the shadows aren't just your past? What if they're ours together?" Zaire's gaze softened, sorrow and longing mixing within the depths of his dark eyes. "Then we learned to navigate them, together." As the sun dipped lower, the light seemed to bend, illuminating the path ahead rather than the darkness behind them. They locked eyes, the distance closing, the tension thickening around them like a protective veil. Zaire brushed a finger against her cheek, grounding her in the softness of the moment. "Can we start over?" he asked, his voice almost a caress, and for the first time Sefina felt a flicker of possibility bloom, an invitation into the unknown. "Together," she replied, her breath catching, believing in the chance to rewrite their fractured narrative. "Always," he murmured, and it felt like a promise. In that fragile juncture, filled with uncertainty yet pulsing with hope, they stood entwined in a world that demanded they fight back, not just for survival, but for the love waiting just beneath the surface. Scene 102, rekindling passion. The room buzzed with muted light and distant sounds of the city. The faint but sweet aroma of lavender wafted through the air, mingling with the earthy scent of rain-soaked asphalt from outside. Rain pattered softly against the window, mimicking the tension humming between Zaire and Sefina. She stood with her arms crossed, a shield against the world, even as her heart raced. "Why are you doing this, Zaire?" Sefina asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "You can't keep protecting me forever." Zaire leaned against the doorframe, his expression unyielding yet pained. "I can protect you as long as you let me, and you're not ready to walk away from this mess." He gestured toward the chaos that had become their lives, the threats lurking in shadows like panthers ready to pounce. "You keep saying you want freedom, but you're trapped in your own fears." Sefina's eyes sparkled like the city flickering through raindrops. Defiance edged in her voice. "I don't need saving, Zaire. I need to handle my own life." "Really?" he challenged, the warmth in his tone deflated by concern. "Last I checked, you were hiding in your studio, painting walls of hope. If you think you're handling anything, maybe you're just masking it." She flinched, the truth of his words slapping her like cold water. "Is that what all this is to you? A project? A broken bird you feel obligated to rescue? Don't twist it into something it's not." His voice softened. "You're not broken, Sefina. Your wings are just clipped, and it kills me to see you like this." A fleeting vulnerability emerged, his guard slipping enough for her to catch a glimpse of the man beneath the shield, strong but not invincible. "Fine," she breathed, the air thickening between them. "Then tell me what exactly you see in me if I'm not broken." "I see a woman who breathes life into every art piece, who finds beauty in the darkest corners, and whose heart reaches beyond her pain. I see you." His intense gaze held hers, challenging her to perceive the essence he cherished. Sefina blinked, her resolve waning. "But I'm scared, Zaire. It's comforting to keep it all at arm's length. Pushing you away feels safer." "Running from me won't keep you safe when real threats are closing in," he stated, voice rich with understanding and undeniable heat. "You know that, and one day, you'll have to let someone in." With the rain tapping out a rhythm against the window pane, Zaire stepped closer, their proximity weaving a fragile tension that hummed like a plucked string. Sefina could smell the faint cologne on him, woodsy and warm, grounding her even as the storm swirled in her mind. "What happens when they find us?" she probed, her voice trembling with the weight of possibilities. "They won't find us if you trust me." "Yep," he said, so close now that she could feel the warmth radiating from his skin, like sunlight reclaiming the day. "Let me show you." And in that moment, the barriers they built began to crack. Sefina's heart thundered, hope entwined with fear as she retained the spotlight on their electric connection. "Show me," she whispered, barely audibly, her breath hitching. Zaire cradled her face gently, his thumb grazing her cheek with the reverence of a painter, detailing the strokes of a masterpiece. The world shrank away, leaving just the two of them amid the storm. He bent slightly, his breath mingling with hers, tantalizingly close. His lips brushed against hers, a delicate caress that ignited a fire deep within. Time slowed, and the rain faded into a soft backdrop, all worries evaporated in the crackling energy vibrating between them. He deepened the kiss, wrapping her in a tender embrace, making her feel as if the weight of the world lifted, if only for a fleeting moment. Sefina surrendered to the warmth of his presence, the taste of sweetness compelling her to lean in further, as if lost in the melody of a longing she had never known before. And as their hearts began to keep time with one another, she felt the whisper of freedom in the storm, confirming that perhaps the chaos could birth beauty and the chance to make their world anew. "Just don't let go," she murmured, inching closer into his embrace, vulnerability sparking a new flame of passion. "I won't," he replied, their lips barely parting, echoing a promise sealed in the quietness of the moment. Scene 103. Sunlight filtered through the half-drawn curtains of Sefina Agbo's art studio, casting playful patterns across a chaotic collection of canvases. The room carried the scent of linseed oil and fresh paint, mingling with the faint aroma of turmeric from the takeout leftovers strewn across the small kitchen counter. As Zaire Oladipo stood by the window, he absent-mindedly traced the rim of a coffee cup with his fingers, the sound barely penetrating the comfortable silence. "What's the plan for today?" Sefina asked, her voice a gentle invasion of his thoughts. She was perched on a stool, her sketchbook open in front of her like a secret waiting to be shared. She glanced up, brushing a lock of hair behind her ear, revealing an unexpected vulnerability in her beautiful hazel eyes. "Or are we just going to stare at our emotional baggage?" Zaire turned, allowing a smirk to break through his normally guarded demeanor. "No staring allowed? Maybe a little plotting instead?" Sefina rolled her eyes playfully, the tension from recent crises dissipating like a morning mist. So, is plotting a euphemism for avoiding life and death situations? Zaire's expression shifted slightly, shadows lurking behind his playful tone. This is still serious, Sefina. We can't let our guard down. The stakes are high, and I'd rather not make wrongful assumptions about what the universe thinks of us. The air between them tightened with unvoiced fears, a delicate thread woven with unshakable trust and unspoken romance. Sefina's gaze dropped to her sketchbook, fingers fiddling with the edge of the page. I guess I'm just a little tired of jumping at my own shadow. Then let's tackle one shadow at a time, Zaire suggested, his deep voice warm and steady as he stepped closer, the daylight framing him like a guardian angel. What if we brought someone in, someone outside of the chaos? Who do you have in mind? Sefina asked, her skepticism palpable. A therapist who specializes in panic attacks, he chuckled softly, a sound that danced across the room and warmed the space between them. Not quite. Think more along the lines of a mentor, an ally who knows the game and can teach us how to play better. A mentor? She arched an eyebrow, intrigue mingling with caution. I didn't realize we were signing up for a summer retreat. Believe me, it'll be worth it. He took a step toward her, his presence undeniable. His name is Dawson. He has a way of sorting out the mess, of turning fear into, well, something workable. Sefina leaned back, studying him closely. The sunlight caught in the nuances of his dark skin, highlighting the strength hidden beneath his composed surface. You trust him? Zaire's gaze softened, grounding her in sincerity. I wouldn't recommend him if I didn't. I've known him a long time, and he can help you help us. The vulnerability emerged on Sefina's features, the layers of strength momentarily giving way to uncertainty. You realize I'm not exactly a poster child for trusting people, Zaire. Where there's light, there's bound to be shadow. Trust me, he said, his earnest tone slicing through the tension. I guarantee that can make a difference. If nothing else, he's not one to sugarcoat the truth. And that's a selling point? She asked, a playful smile teasing her lips, easing her worries with humor. Do I get a t-shirt for this? Zaire laughed, the sound drawing her in, the warmth creating a bubble of intimacy thick enough to smother their fears. A t-shirt and a cup of tea. You'll love it. Just think of all the dramatic flair he can provide. A sidekick to your brooding crime-fighting routine? She leaned in closer, lightheartedness igniting the space between them. Wonderful. Maybe he can also balance my past trauma with some humor. Stranger things have happened, Zaire replied, his tone gentle. We'll face the shadows together, Sefina. That's a promise. Her heart surged at the weight of his words, sending a thrill through her core. She took a deep breath, her resolve solidifying. Okay, if it means facing things head-on, but fair warning, I might take dramatic license during the entire mentorship saga. Then we're bound to be entertained, Zaire said, eyes brightening with mischief. Just like the best crime dramas. Yes, but only if I get to wear a stylish detective coat, she quipped, moving a long paintbrush like a flourish in the air. And I'll be your dapper partner, Zaire replied, his smile infectious, with the charm to match. Their laughter crescendoed softly in the intimate sanctuary, shadows lingering on the edges, but their burgeoning partnership shone bright against the chaos, filling the room with light. Scene 104, Unseen Generosity. The evening sun cast a warm golden hue across the small art studio nestled in the heart of downtown Seattle, filtering through the large loft windows adorned with half-drawn curtains. A mixture of turquoises, magentas, and deep indigos sprawled across the walls in a chaotic celebration of color. It was a refuge for Sefina Agbo. Today, however, the vibrancy couldn't shake the storm cloud of her thoughts, which hovered as she moved from canvas to canvas, brushes in hand. Zaire Oladipo stood in the threshold, leaning against the doorframe, the tension in his posture betraying a sense of urgency. The deep lines etched in his brow belied his usual confident demeanor, revealing a man grappling with decisions that felt heavier than his well-built frame could bear. The smell of linseed oil and fresh paint, mixed with the faint scent of sandalwood from an incense stick Sefina had lit earlier, creating an intoxicating atmosphere that usually comforted her, but today only deepened her unease. I can't find the beauty in anything today, Sefina muttered, trying to focus on a half-finished canvas that shimmered with potential yet felt utterly lifeless in her hands. Sometimes beauty finds us, whether we're looking for it or not, Zaire replied softly, stepping into the studio. His voice was like a deep, resonant chord that filled the space. Despite its assurance, she felt a distance, an unseen chasm between them, an invisible barrier strengthened by secrets neither dared breach. Sefina glanced up, her cerulean eyes locking onto his deep brown ones. What if it finds us when we're in the middle of a mess? The challenge in her tone was both defensively playful and deeply vulnerable. Zaire raised an eyebrow, crossing the room, admiring the swirl of colors around the space. Then we embraced the mess. Life's not always about pretty pictures. He paused, an amused smile dancing on his lips. You never know when a heart may get just as messy. She held his gaze longer than she intended, feeling an unguarded connection pulse between them, lighter than the air, yet heavy with unsaid words. I assume you're not referring to modern art? Tche, he chuckled, the warmth in his eyes softening the tension of the moment. But then, as he opened his mouth to speak, the air shifted. The door jolted open, cutting through the intimacy like a whip, and in bounded Kira, Sefina's vivacious best friend, with a grocery bag slung over her arm. Her energy filled the room, a burst of confetti in a space too somber. Did someone order a party? Because I brought snacks. Kira, Sefina exclaimed, relief flooding her voice. You're just in time to rescue me from existential angst. Is that what we're calling it now? Kira set the bag down triumphantly, rummaging inside. I'm thinking chips, guacamole, and just the right amount of chaos to launch us into the weekend. You mean the kind of chaos that leaves a trail of glitter and questionable decisions? Zaire teased, taking a step back toward the table, his presence still electrifying despite the jovial intrusion. Exactly. Also, a little heart-to-heart never hurt anyone. Kira winked at Sefina as she pulled out an assortment of colorful snacks, arranging them like an artist composing a masterpiece. Maybe get a love confession or two along the way. Sefina feigned a gasp, laughter bubbling at the edges of her lips. What gives you that idea? I mean, Zaire and I are just what? Hanging out? Kira interrupted, her eyes narrowing playfully as she casually popped a chip into her mouth. Please, I've read the tension in this room. Ever thought of giving it some paint and calling it a masterpiece? Zaire chuckled, shaking his head. Sounds like you're trying to turn my life into a soap opera. His gaze flicked back to Sefina, an unspoken imploring lingering in the space between them. But I'm intrigued, he added, leaning against the table, brows raised in that devastatingly charming way that made Sefina forget the path she was trying to retrace. What if the chaos leads us somewhere great? That tantalizing question evaporated the air, leaving Sefina's heart racing. A sliver of hope danced inside, battling against her insecurities. Great, or a complete disaster, Kira quipped, her tone lightening the mood. But hey, we could always start with snacks and glitter. You know, the essentials. Sefina couldn't help but laugh, her laughter filling the void. Glory and insanity, as usual. She felt Zaire's steady presence beside her, grounding, yet stirring the air with anticipation. Just remember, Zaire said, his voice low but charged. We won't know until we try. Don't worry, I've got a lot of glitters and snacks to spare, Kira declared, her optimism infectious. And in the radiant chaos within the laughter and camaraderie, Sefina lingered on Zaire's gaze, a silent desire intertwining with the promise of uncharted terrain. Scene 1-5. Empowering each other. The rain drummed lightly against the windows of Zaire's sleek downtown office, casting a soft, dappled light across the expansive room. Sefina dropped her purse on the glass conference table, a myriad of colored notebooks spilling out like her scattered thoughts. Why is it always about strength with you? She asked, her voice smooth yet laced with exasperation as she leaned against the table, arms crossed. The scent of cedarwood mixed with a faint hint of rain, creating an intimate atmosphere that wrapped around them both. Zaire, leaning against the edge of the table opposite her, furrowed his brow. The dim overhead lights reflected off his deep-set eyes, where clouds of contemplation swirled like the storm outside. Because in this world, Sefina, strength is all we have, he replied, his tone barely concealing the weight of his guarded thoughts. But what if vulnerability is strength? Sefina's voice rose slightly. She shifted closer to him, intention carved into every movement. Hiding behind walls doesn't make you strong, it just makes you isolated. He shook his head, a wry smile tugging at the corners of his lips, but it didn't reach his eyes, those pools of deep introspection. Isolated? I prefer to think of it as self-preservation. Self-preservation, huh? Her laughter bubbled forth unexpectedly, brightening the somber mood. So, you're saying we should all turn into hermits? Just surround ourselves with safe walls and a lot of pizza? She gestured animatedly, her fingers curling into her palms as if holding a slice. At least if I'm going to embrace isolation, I need toppings. Zaire chuckled softly, the edge of tension easing ever so slightly. I can't argue with pizza logic. See, you're already softening up, she teased, moving even closer, their proximity crackling with unspoken tension. The water outside swelled, a fierce wind waking the city, creating a backdrop that echoed the turmoil they each held within. Let me help you see that it's okay to let your guard down. What if letting my guard down means I lose everything? He said, the smile fading, replaced by a shadow of vulnerability.